And let's continue on. And as you know, we heard from Gary Judd earlier around the article he's written for us regarding the role of the Waitangi Tribunal in relation to this case that has gone to the Court of Appeal on the summons or subpoena for Karen Chua, the Minister of Children. But Gary, as he said, has also kicked a bit of a hornet's nest with his comments about a story we broke here on the platform some months ago. The fact that from next year, courses or specific courses or parts of courses regarding Tikanga Māori are to be compulsory for all law students in New Zealand. So you will have to do a course on Tikanga Māori to become a lawyer in New Zealand or to matriculate at university with a law degree. Gary Judd says that's ridiculous, and Tikanga has got nothing to do with the law. It's simply some spiritual and cultural beliefs, and I guess the analogy would be a little like, I don't know, teaching people about the Holy Sacrament or some other religious observance as part of a law degree. In other words, completely irrelevant. The initial response, critical response, came from a woman called Kylie Quince, who heads AUT's law faculty, and she said he was an old dinosaur racist old dinosaur, said Gary Judd was a racist old dinosaur and he and his ilk could go and die in a corner, which I thought was an incredibly academic and well-reasoned debating points and response from the head of law at AUT. Probably a more credible voice, though no less strident voice, was quoted when the Herald followed our story the next day. And Jane Kelsey, now is it emeritus or emerita professor of law at Auckland University, long-time activist, campaigner, social commentator and author in New Zealand, Jane Kelsey, came out and gave what I thought was a more reasoned and certainly less inflammatory critique of Gary Judd KC's position. I did ask her to come along and debate Gary today. She said she would rather not, but I still think we should hear from Jane Kelsey and the views she has. So she joins us on the phone right now. Jane, good morning to you. Nice to have you with us.
Kia ora, Sean. And just to be clear, my reason was for not debating is I'm never, as you would know, wary about entering into a debate with people, but I think you and I can probably have a more rational conversation than...
I would have liked to have him along, and Jane, I have to let you know, because you wouldn't debate him and he would debate you. I'm going to give him a brief time to respond after this interview, and I feel I need to tell you that as a matter of principled activity.
Well, it's your show.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you explain to me why learning, and we don't know exactly what's in this course, I don't, why learning Tikanga Māori has any relevance to people who are studying law in New Zealand?
How long have we got? I was teaching law for 43 years before I retired, and throughout that time we integrated into many of the courses an understanding of Tikanga Māori, partly because that's the first law of this country, and that's the important element of Te Tiriti o Waitangi that's not generally understood, but also in a purely functional sense of understanding the law when people go out into the whole range of activities that they do with a law degree, whether it's going into public policy or commercial practice or local government, iwi hapu, journalism, whatever, as well as in the courts. They need to understand, just as in any other country, what the rules, practices, values are that are particular to that country, and Tikanga Māori is what's particular to Aotearoa New Zealand. And the students were always really responsive to that. It made a lot of sense to them, in some ways much more sense to them than some of the common law principles.
Okay, but you haven't trained, or in that 40 years, you weren't responsible for teaching every law student in New Zealand? Is this just something that you did?
Because I started teaching back in 1979, we taught the first year course, once called Legal System.
At one university?
Yes, but also I know, because Waikato University, for example, when its law school was set up, followed what we had done at Auckland. And there was I think people misunderstand what the purpose of.
Well, hang on. Can we just walk through a few questions I've got as a result of your opening stanza? Firstly, if you've been doing this for years and it's worked out well and the students love it, why do you need to make it compulsory?
Because it's an evolution or a maturing of how we actually understand law here.
Do you think it's maturer to make someone do something than offer it to them and have them enjoy it? I wonder if that's evolution or if it's compulsion.
Well, if you understand the Council for Legal Education, it actually sets down a whole lot of subjects that are compulsions. And we had a big discussion at Auckland over the years about whether jurisprudence, theory, thinking about law should actually be compulsory. And Tikanga Māori in Auckland, that's part of
You
that.
say it's the first law of New Zealand.
Hold on,
Okay, no, carry on.
Okay. You can't have students not understanding the thinking that underpins law when they go out into the various things they're doing, including the courts. And so part of what we're having in the maturing of thinking is students understanding tikanga Māori as part of the law of Aotearoa. Now, when I did ethics, you mentioned about teaching religion and so on. When I did the ethics course to become a practitioner, I was taught the 10 Commandments out of the Bible. So let's not pretend that the common law somehow is some ethereal, scientific, neutral entity. It has its own history.
Yeah, and cultural context, absolutely. Yes. I don't disagree with you. You say that Tikanga Māori is the first law of New Zealand. Can you explain that concept to me? Sure.
Māori society had and has values and rules and processes and institutions by which it governs itself. Rules that determine how you relate to the environment, how you relate to each other, what kind of economy that you have, what responsibilities you have.
We saw that written down. Can I get a book and read that, Jane?
I think actually Ta Hereni Moko Mead is about to publish a book in about the next 3 or 4 months, which is about tikanga. But of course, tikanga is an oral tradition rather than a written tradition. Written tradition's a very European thing.
Okay. Where is tikanga Māori used as precedent setting in law? Can you point me to a New Zealand law that is based on the first law of New Zealand or a statute?
That's a kind of circular question, Sean, because the colonisation, colonial law...
English law.
Common law, English law.
Westminster system
that came in No. Let's remember when English law came to Aotearoa, women couldn't vote. Only men with property could vote. Let's not pretend that democracy...
Did anyone who was here before the colonisers, as you'd call them, did anyone here vote?
Voting
was slavery legally acceptable?